What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F123 My Team Career Mode for Season 3, round number 16, the finale, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Yes, we're finally here for the final race of Season 3. We're not in the championship fight, unfortunately, but there is a three-way fight between Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, and Lando Norris. Either one of them could win the championship here in the final race, so it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But before we get into things, adapting as many parts as we can after this race will be the last time we can adapt parts going into next season. We're definitely not going to get all parts adapted, so that will hopefully shift up the order a little bit. Hopefully we won't just, plummet, either plummet or, be way ahead of other teams. So I'm hoping that's the case. We've still got R&D on reduced for us and increased for AI. So I'm hoping that does, keep playing out as close as it has been, and also hoping that the back teams do start to catch up a little bit next season, because yeah, they have been way behind the rest of the field. But there we go, that is all the parts we can put on the car. Now, a bit of a recap of this season so far. Bahrain, first race of the season, Lewis Hamilton took a dominant win. Great start to the season for him. He just missed out on the championship to us in season 2, so he fought back hard in Bahrain to win the race. We ended up third, George Russell on the podium there. Charles Leclerc then fought back in Saudi, winning that race. Hamilton still on the podium though. Of course, Leclerc, the Drivers' Champion from season 1, so he is trying to get in this fight as well. And it was looking good for Ferrari, as Yuki Tsunoda would win his first race in Formula 1 on the third time of asking for Ferrari, winning the Australian Grand Prix. Great drive from Yuki, showing that he can live up to his hype and go toe-to-toe with Leclerc. But Hamilton was showing great form. He'd been on the podium every race so far, and he'd take another win, his second of the season, in China over Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso, also getting on the podium there for my team. Oscar Piastri would then take, I'm not sure if it was his first win, I think he might have had a win in season 2, I'm not 100% sure, this may have been his first proper win actually, but he would then win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Great race in Baku. I think he might have won the sprint as well, so very good from Piastri there. Hamilton though, still showing he had great form, winning in Monaco, but this was actually a good run for McLaren as well. As you can see, second and third on the podium there in Monaco. Leclerc though would still be right here in Spain, winning that race from Verstappen, who put up a very good performance to actually challenge for the win in this one, and we would get back up onto the podium for the first time since Bahrain there in third place. Leclerc would then make it back-to-back wins, winning in Austria, a great display from him there, winning from his teammate and Lewis Hamilton. So Ferrari showing a bit more form once again. The Ferrari form would continue even further, as then Yuki Tsunoda would win in Great Britain. He would win the British Grand Prix, his second win of the season and of his career, from Piastri and Hamilton. So Hamilton is still ever present there, almost always on the podium, but the Ferrari was showing massive pace, as now it would be Leclerc winning. I think this was now 4 Ferrari wins in a row. Leclerc wins in France from Tsunoda, I believe, or at least from one of the McLarens, and then Tsunoda would get another win in Italy, as we fought both of the Ferraris for the win in their home Grand Prix. It would be Tsunoda taking the win from Leclerc on the last lap, pretty much the last corner, and we would end up third. Lando Norris would finally get his first win of the season after showing very good form earlier on. He'd finally get a win in Singapore, taking it to his teammate who had already had that win in Baku. But Norris was a little bit more consistent and was showing some good pace in this latter half of the season. Then finally, our luck would come and we would win the Japanese Grand Prix after a pretty dominant display, actually. We were looking really good in in Japan, and yeah, took a fairly dominant win, actually, and that would carry over to the USA. Not quite as dominant there, a bit more luck-based, but we would win the United States Grand Prix as well. So 2 wins off the bounce, and it was a great result for us because Alonso was also up there on the podium after some fairly poor results earlier on in the season. And then the race just just before the one we're about to start, Lando Norris winning the Portuguese Grand Prix. He seems to always win in Portugal, and it was no exception this season either. His old teammate Carlos Sainz on the podium there for, I believe, the first time for Red Bull as well. And this is how the championship looks now. Hamilton is only about 3 points ahead of Charles Leclerc, and then Lando Norris is 15 points behind Hamilton. So it's going to be difficult for Norris to win this championship, but it is still possible. But it is mainly between Hamilton and Leclerc here. Norris is still in the fight low, so let's see how this goes. We're about 30 points behind in 4th, so we are not in contention for the championship anymore. But Q1 gets underway here in Abu Dhabi, and let's see what we can do. Currently sitting P2 after my first run, however it looks like only 3 drivers have set laps. So we are going to try and go quicker on this next lap here, and we do. This is the lap that I'm showing you. We'll just look at the first half of the lap because that's how we do this. I'm not showing every lap, every full, best lap of Q1, Q2, Q3 because it just goes on for too long. But this lap was a decent lap from what I remember. Not the best in the world, but it was pretty good, and in the end ended up putting us P9, so maybe not quite where I was hoping, but yeah, a little bit back from Alonso there. No real surprises out in Q1. Bit of a mixture actually, one Williams, Alfa Romeo, Haas and Alpine, and then both AlphaTauris. But one of each of those other team drivers getting through to Q2, so that's quite interesting. See how those guys are all shaking up against each other. Q2 comes around once again off the first lap, looking decent, P6 at the moment, so probably safe at this point, but I just wanted to go for another lap just in case, because you can never be sure. I think if you're any, or depending on the times of other drivers, if you're any lower than like P4, P5, really you need to go again in Q2 because you risk getting knocked out. And I think in this case there was a couple of drivers that were a bit further back that I expected would, like the Ferraris. I expected to move forward a little bit, so I had to put a good lap time in, and I sure did. I ended up going quickest in Q2, so a very good lap from myself there. Both Aston Martins getting knocked out in Q2, a little bit of a surprise because we've usually seen Russell manage to get through to Q3, usually knock like De Vries or someone out, but De Vries makes it through this time in the critical points for his teammates in this championship, and both Aston Martins are out. And then we get started in Q3 here for my quick lap. I only actually did, well, I think I did 2 quick laps in the end. This was the first of the 2, as I didn't quite go any quicker on the second, I don't think. But yeah, I'm going to be honest, this was not the best lap in the world. I did improve on my Q2 lap, but so maybe it actually was a pretty good lap. But yeah, everybody else just seemed to improve massively. I think I did a 20.5 in Q2 and went quickest. Well, everybody so far, the top 9, have done, I think at this point, a 20.4. So even De Vries in P9 did a 20.4 on his first flying lap. So that's already quicker than my fastest time in Q2. So I had to really push the car to try and get anything more out of it. And yeah, this was actually an okay lap. But I think I was maybe trying to push a little bit too hard, knowing that I had more time to make up from the speed I did in Q2. Maybe went a little bit hot into the final corner there, slightly missed the apex. In the end, we crossed the line P8. It ends up being P9 in the end. We did improve to about 20.3, 20.2 from what I remember, but it's only P9 for us. Alonso is up there in P5, so it's a decent start to the race for him. Leclerc's all the way down in P8. That's not good for him in the championship, especially when Lewis Hamilton is on pole position. So let's see what this final race of Season 3 has in store.
It's time then for one final race in this year's Formula One World Championship. 2010 saw 4 drivers in contention for the title coming into this race, with Sebastian Vettel prevailing to become the youngest world champion to date. Is there one last sting in the tail awaiting us today? Well, it's time to find out here at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The drivers will be racing here at the Yas Marina circuit through 16 corners and a lap distance of around 3.28 miles. There are a few opportunities to pass with long straights and DRS zones in 2 places, so plenty of close racing, then plenty of speed and plenty of drama to be found in the laps ahead. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Tsunoda, Leclerc, Davies, De Vries, Russell, Iwasa, Gasly, Liam Lawson, Albon, Bottas, Sargent, Joe, Doohan, Ocon, Magnussen, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today.
The key now will be to keep in the right mindset. We've seen time and again that things go wrong if you just try and do the minimum. Not necessarily because of the pressure, but because it's different to your usual approach. They'll need to avoid that and stay focused today.
Alright, here we go for the final time in Season 3. It is 5 red lights on for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and it's 5 red lights off. It's a good start for us, although we get boxed in by Tsunoda. We try to go to the inside, but he just squeezes us there, and then that lets De Vries get past. We've lost a position, and then we're almost going to lose another one to Pierre Gasly, I think that is, in the Alpine, into Turn 1, but we managed to defend from him, but we have lost the position to De Vries, down to P10 already at the start of this race, after getting a little bit boxed in by the Ferraris up ahead. That's actually kind of helped Leclerc out, who didn't have an amazing start, but thanks to his teammate boxing me in, Leclerc's actually, I think, made up a position or two here at the start of this race, but he's still a little bit of a ways back from Hamilton and Norris, the two drivers he's fighting in this championship. We continue on as Gasly then goes for a big dive up the inside and actually bangs wheels with us into the chicane. A little bit sketchy there from the Frenchman, but we stay ahead and we're just going to try and power with ERS down here because we do not want to lose a place to an Alpine here at the start of this race. We don't want to fall out of the top 10. We need to stick with this top 9 group ahead of us, and we've already lost a little bit of time, but hopefully through these the final kind of tighter, trickier section, we will gain some time back up again, and that is what happens. Everybody just so close to each other at this point. We do manage to catch back up again, and Gasly actually seems to have had a bit of a wobble behind and has fallen back a little bit now, so that pressure has gone, so we can get back in and have this very tight top 10 group. But it hasn't been the most amazing start for us, losing a position off the start. Yuki Tsunoda, like I said, also not the best start for him. Ahead of us, and he's lost, well actually no, he hasn't lost a position to Alonso. Alonso's actually not had a good start either, because he's now getting overtaken by Yuki Tsunoda. Alonso manages to stay ahead at the moment, but now might be compromised as they head down here. Tsunoda having a look, but he's actually got De Vries in his mirrors and can't make a move on my teammate at this point in time. Next lap around though, he will try and go for the move. Alonso goes defensive to the inside. Tsunoda around the outside and gets the position done before they even get to the chicane. Alonso really seems to be struggling here because now De Vries is going for a move on him in the Mercedes around the outside as they head into the chicane. These guys are going to be side by side here. De Vries just about gets ahead at that point. Now I'm right behind these guys, and I've actually got a really good run on my teammate with the DRS. I'm actually going to see if we can maybe get around the outside of Alonso as we head into this left-hander, but he has a little look on De Vries, and that kind of scuppers our plans. I don't want to do anything too aggressive on my teammate here in the last race, so we just have to stay behind these two for the time being. At the front, and Lewis Hamilton still leads the way from pole position from Max Verstappen, who's on the soft compound tyres but hasn't managed to make a move on the British driver. So Verstappen maybe not in the best position right here. You know, should be on a quicker strategy, but it's not really working. And the top 5 separated by nothing here. Sainz there in third in the other Red Bull, then followed by the both of the McLarens of Norris and Piastri. A little bit of a gap back to Leclerc in the Ferrari. As once again Alonso trying to get past Nick De Vries as they go side by side through the chicane, and we're going to see if we can do the same thing again. This time Alonso does get past De Vries. We're going to go for the move around the outside of De Vries. De Vries goes to the move to the inside of my teammate, and it's 3 wide as we head down this back straight here into the left-hander. A little bit of a wobble for us. We're just trying to keep the traction, keep the position here, and we get ahead of both of them, and we're now up into P8, so that is a big move for us. We've now got the 2 Ferraris up ahead of us. Alonso and De Vries still fighting a little bit behind, but we've managed to clear them for now. However, they stick right close behind me, and on lap number 8, De Vries is now coming back at us again, and I decide, you know what, I'm not actually going to fight this one too much. As I notice he steams up the inside, we're going to let him do that because that will then hopefully give us a better run out of the chicane with a little bit of a wobble, but crucially we will also pick up the DRS, and I'm hoping we can just breeze back past him again. He goes very defensive to the inside, that's fine, we'll go to the outside, late on the brakes, and we get the move back on De Vries back up into P8, so that is good for us to defend that position once again there. A little bit of smart play there. And eventually De Vries will succumb to Alonso as well, who's going to try and go around the outside again, going into this chicane. These two seem to be having colossal battles as De Vries actually bounces it up a bit over the curbs. Alonso has just about gotten ahead, but once again, I believe De Vries is going to pick up the DRS here, but there seems to be a little bit more of a gap this time. Alonso is still going a bit defensive to the inside, De Vries trying to hang it around the outside now as they go around this left-hander, but Alonso looks to have kept him at bay this time and gets up into P9. Now Charles Leclerc is on a bit of a move here, and Piastri has actually slowed down quite a lot in the McLaren. He has lost the gap. Well, he's now got a big gap to the top 4. He was right there with them, but seems to be having issues here. And Charles Leclerc manages to get past Piastri, so he's working his way back through. He's a long way behind the top guys here, but now Piastri is coming back again at Charles Leclerc as they're now going to go side by side round the left-hander. Leclerc just about staying ahead and keeping ahead at the moment to get up into P5, but he's still got a long way to go if he wants to have a chance at this championship. He needs a safety car or something because he's got quite a big gap. As we now come into the pits on lap 14 onto 15 to change onto hard compound tyres to the end of this race. Let's see how this goes for us. Nobody else in front really came in until the same lap as us, apart from Verstappen, who came in off the soft compound tyres, and he has actually fallen back quite a bit. As you see, we come out of the pits here, and that is Verstappen behind us now on the mediums, but I didn't expect him to be behind us at this point, so I'm really wondering if Verstappen has got some kind of issue here, because he should have got a pretty considerable undercut there, but didn't end up working. However, we're not going to fight Verstappen because he's on medium tyres. We're still warming our tyres up. He's on a different sort of strategy than us, so we're going to let him pass. We're not really going to fight him that time around. As now, Lando Norris has actually caught up to Carlos Sainz in the other Red Bull, and Norris has gone for the move for I think what is actually P2 in this race now that Verstappen's fallen down the order a little bit. So Norris still trying to fight back at Hamilton, even though it is a big ask for this championship. A couple of laps stuck behind Verstappen, and he's really struggling, so we're just going to have to try and make a move here because he's slowing us down. Tsunoda's caught right up to the back of us as we get the move done on Verstappen. By the way, we are ahead of Tsunoda now. We got the undercut on him in the pits, and we're now ahead of Verstappen, and sure enough, next lap around, Verstappen's now under fire from Yuki Tsunoda. I haven't heard over the radio that Verstappen has an issue, but he must do because he's really quite slow at the moment. A few laps later, and now Alonso and De Vries have caught up to him as well. Verstappen is really struggling here. He was looking good to go on for a podium, maybe even a win this race, but unfortunately it hasn't happened, so he's going to go 2 seasons in a row without a victory, and he's just been overtaken by Alonso, and now you can see how easy it is. Even with Verstappen having DRS, De Vries just plummets himself around the outside. Verstappen's going to try and fight this one though, on his fellow countryman around this next corner, but the Mercedes driver will get up ahead of Verstappen, put himself up into P9. That is now Verstappen in P10. He should be pretty safe there though, because there is quite a big gap to, I believe, Iwasa, who is in P11 at the moment. And George Russell, by the way, has retired from this race with a mechanical failure, so he is out. We're just continuing on here, kind of keeping a gap to Tsunoda. We are slowly catching Piastri, so there is a possibility of P5 in this race. I think that's the maximum we're going to get, but yeah, we are slowly catching Piastri in these final few laps. Hamilton is just completely cruising it at the front here. Norris is keeping him honest, to be honest, and Sainz is just behind there as well. This top three very close, but at the moment Hamilton's doing everything he needs to do to win this championship. As now De Vries, he must have got re-overtaken by Verstappen, so now he's trying to get back past him again, and it's a pretty easy move in the end, down into the chicane, a little bit of side-by-side action, but then absolutely buggers off in the distance. But the man of the hour and the man of the season is Lewis Hamilton. He dominated the first few races. Well, he didn't dominate, but he had more wins than anyone else. He was on the podium consistently for the first half of the season. He had a bit of bad luck and a bit of inconsistency in the second half, but he's done everything he needed to do in this final race, and he crosses the line to win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and win the 2025, technically, Season 3 Drivers' Championship. Hamilton finally gets his 8th Drivers' Championship. And on the final lap here, we catch up to Piastri within DRS, and we're going to see if we can make a move for P5 in this race right here. We've got DRS. We're absolutely using as much ERS as we can. Piastri is going to go a little bit defensive to the inside. We're going to spot a gap. We're going to go to the outside. We're going to be side by side here to try and get the move done. Piastri gets his elbows out. We're going to try and do a little bit of a cutback on him. Piastri's still going super defensive though, and in the end we can't get past in these last few corners. We're going to have to settle for P6, but a nice little bit of action at the end of this race after what was, to be honest, a fairly bland race in the end. We didn't have a whole lot of action throughout the field, and especially for me in that final half of the race, just not a whole lot going on. But it's going to be P6 for us. Piastri put up a good fight. It's a decent end result for us, but it is Lewis Hamilton who takes the championship here. He missed out from us last season, but this time he's done it. He's got his 8th World Championship. He was going to retire at the end of that last season. I'm sure he's happy he didn't do that now. Season 3 is done and dusted.
And with that, another year of Formula One draws to a close and a new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers. Victory today then, but bittersweet emotions, I'm sure, as the championship slips through their fingers. Even so, what a fantastic final race of the season this was. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
There we have it. Lewis Hamilton finishes the season where he started, on the top step of the podium. He never looked back after round one, although he had a bit of a shaky second half of the season with a lot of retirements. I mean, 2 in a row, I think, from USA and Portugal. He never left the top step. He was always, throughout the whole season since Bahrain, first in the championship. Only really had that challenge right at the end there. But he has come out on top, and he deserves it. 8 championships for Hamilton. Will he end up hanging up his boots at the end of the season? He hasn't really announced it at the moment, but like I said, last season in Season 2, he said he was going to retire, but then he lost out to us in the championship, and he carried on for another year, and now he's got that 8th championship. Will that be the end of it for Lewis Hamilton? We'll have to wait and see what happens in Season 4, but yep, great result for him. Lando Norris pushed him all the way, ended up with fastest lap in the end as well, but it wasn't enough. It was a pretty poor race from Leclerc in the end. I think he finished P4, but it wasn't enough. He needed to be ahead of Hamilton, even just by 1 position, and he would have won this championship. But unfortunately, it was a bit of a rough race for Leclerc. He still finishes 2nd in the Drivers' Championship though. We still finished 4th in the end, so a good return to form in the latter part of this season. Alonso finishes the championship in 8th, so a little bit unfortunate for him, I think, and I believe Alonso is retiring at the end of this season. And just looking further down the order, a couple of good performances as well from drivers like Bottas, and I think it was Lawson, was it, that picked up a couple of points for Haas. And in the constructors, it is Ferrari who win by, I think it was only about 2 points, isn't it? Ferrari win the Constructors' Championship from McLaren. It is then a bit more of a gap back to us in 3rd, ahead of Mercedes in 4th, Red Bull 5th, Aston Martin 6th, Williams with another impressive 7th position, Alpine down in 8th, Haas move up to 9th, Alfa Romeo 10th, and AlphaTauri the only team to not score points in 11th. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.